responding. The core of the application in Tablet Command is real-time incident management. So you're able to have all the units assigned to you by CAD, and it's a simple drag and drop, and we'll cover some of those screenshots in just a moment. But what that does is it provides a great tool to manage your incident, but you're sharing that now with everyone in real time. Whoever's responding, if it's a duty chief that's laying in their bed and they've got the duty of trying to determine whether or not they're going in or not, everyone's seeing that in real time. So company officers responding sometimes on the second or third alarm, painting that picture of what's going on and listening to live tactical traffic or dispatch traffic and trying to read the comments from the MDT, you're trying to paint the picture of what's going on while you're responding on that second or third alarm as a company officer. Start to create a little bit of anxiety of which way do I approach, what's going on. With Tablet Command, you can look at the application, see how the incident's built out, see all your customized maps, see the location of all the units and where everyone's assigned. Everything that we do when we onboard a customer is customizable. We understand with most of our employees having been in public safety or in the fire service that every department is different. So when we onboard you, that includes mapping, checklists, templates, units. It's all customizable for your agency. And what we also do is we bring all this data, including vehicle location data, drone footage, your customized maps that your GIS teams may build, the CAD data. We're bringing that all into one pane of glass. Your checklists, so you're not referencing multiple silos of data at the back of the traditional or legacy command buggy. Just to give you a background, Tablet Command is in use today on every call. There's some solutions that are in the marketplace that maybe get used once a year, or they maybe only get used when you actually roll out the EOC. Our users are using this on every single call. The ones that they are managing, they're tapping manage, but they're using it to reference, so the muscle memory is there on how to use the application. So we have over 41,000 users and growing, first responders across North America. We have, our users have managed over 207,000 managed incidents. That's not just CAD incidents, those are incidents that they actually use the tool to manage the incident. And some other stats for you as well. We're seeing about 26,000 CAD incidents per day, and we have 14,000 shared vehicle locations throughout North America as well, and I'll cover what that is in a second. One of the things that, just in terms of the stats here, we just suffered, of course, the LA wildfires. We changed our infrastructure a number of months ago, maybe 6 months ago, and we scale instantly, just like Netflix or like Esri does with their services as well. So our infrastructure saw a climb of over 200% to support all the firefighters that were responding to the incidents in LA. Here's just a couple of logos that we have in terms of some of our customers. Just a show of hands, I did this last year. I asked what did I ask? I said, who is Tablet Command customers? I want to see who is not Tablet Command customers in the room. Okay, so there's maybe 20 hands up. So we do CAD integration, notification like we talked about. We also, based off customer demand, we want to bring everything into one pane of glass, so that includes the MDT. So we added the ability to respond with some of our CAD vendors and be able to bring even the response or the status of that unit right into Tablet Command as well. In terms of incident management, its units are assigned by CAD, and it's a simple drag and drop to your template, or what your columns would look like. So anyone in the fire service knows that when we manage resources, we typically draw out those columns, and we're assigning those resources, and moving those across. Just to give you one little slice of time, or the advantage that Tablet Command provides. If you call and you have a multi-alarm incident, and you're an incident commander, or you're a chief officer, you're working at the back of the command vehicle, you call the comm center and you say, hey, who's on my second alarm? Who's on my third alarm? If you listen to the radio traffic, it's 60 seconds per alarm to do an inventory and get that from the comm center. With Tablet Command, the units are instantly popping in there. So the data continues to update. So if somebody is swapped out and goes to a medical aid or is diverted, that's going to update in Tablet Command. We also integrate with your staffing solution. So you can see there we're inspecting engine 1, but you can see the staffing of who's on engine 1 at the time of dispatch. We integrate with any staffing solution that you may have. So that includes, you'll have a communication center that might support 10 different fire departments with 10 different staffing solutions. So you can bring all those different staffing solutions into Tablet Command and match them up and marry them up with that engine. So also we allow you to manage the incident out on a map. So you drag those tiles, you can also drag those tiles out to the map. Now think about what the picture this paints for that company officer, those chief officers that are responding at 2 or 3 in the morning. You can start dragging units as they should be assigned, or you can start dragging groups and divisions out to the map. And so it really starts to paint a clear picture of where units should go. So just in the bottom here, you can see staging on Street Boulevard. And of course, we've partnered with Esri, so everything from a GIS standpoint is customizable. So you build your own maps with your GIS team, or we'll help you if you don't have one, a team. And you can basically put anything that you can think of, you can put into ArcGIS Align. It'll show up in Tablet Command. So that includes, in this example, we've got hydrants. We talked about the cameras, you can bring those in. Whatever layer you can think of, it's supported in Tablet Command. One other layer that we have is vehicle location. So you can see engine 102, which is at the center of the map. It's in the gold, it's got that gold flag, engine 102. So that's the location coming from the host agency's communication center, or that CAD. The ones that are gray or black are what we call shared vehicle locations. So you're able to see locations from other communication centers outside your own. So it really starts to paint a great picture when you're responding to those mutual aid or automatic aid incidents. Just to give you an example, here's the LA County shared vehicle location for all the different departments in LA County, not including LA City, but we're in conversation with LA City. So pre-plans, we talk about a lot of different pre-plan solutions. A lot of agencies will just have them in customized PDFs, or they'll utilize solutions like First Do, or maybe their GIS team has their own solution. Whatever it may be, you can bring those into ArcGIS Online and be able to support and see those. What some customers are also doing is they'll have these blue squares, which will be a legacy pre-plan that might pull up a PDF, but also you can put pre-plan points. For example, there's a gas shutoff there at the corner of the building, so you can actually put that right directly in the map as well, which some customers do. Some customers will actually use tools like Survey 123. Once they run a call, they'll submit via Survey 123. For example, a hoarder house or a hazard shows on the map, and it's instantly available for the next company that's running a call in 5 minutes. Here's an example of just inspecting one of those points. Here's a legacy PDF that we might see, or an apartment map. That's supported as well, so that can be sourced from that map data as well. Here's an example of the alert cameras. So you can put the alert cameras out on a point on the map. This interface is a little bit different that was showed earlier this morning. This was before they had the ArcGIS on Atlas layer. But you can see here, just by tapping that camera, you get an inspection of that last image, which really changes the game when you're responding to an incident. And the data is actionable. So here's another example of this. So we partnered with Genesis. Genesis does the evacuation zones. So now all Tablet Command customers will have the evacuation zones and what those look like. When we first did this, we did it with just that customer or that county, which is useful. But we quickly realized the real use and benefit would be for agencies that are not from that county. So when you have auto and mutual aid units coming in, they're not familiar with your area. They're definitely not familiar with your zones, but now in Tablet Command, they are. So they can reference those zones, figure out what has been on warning, what's proposed, what's on order, and be able to call out splits, and everyone's talking on the same sheet of music. In terms of integrations, like we mentioned everything, this is an example. We also provide the ability for you to customize Tablet Command with a customized button. So you can open up, for example, like a live drone feed. Here's another example of a pop-up of a live drone feed. This is a fire out of San Mateo County. It would show the video of the actual moving up there, but it's just for the presentation, it doesn't. But you can see that you're bringing that drone feed, which is typically at the back of a command vehicle or at the drone team via video. All the units responding have access to this with the tap of a button, including the command post. They can leave it up inside the application and continue to manage the incident. contextually trying to paint that picture of decreasing that fog of war. You could be a strike team leader, you could be a company officer, you're responding to an incident, and without all this data, you're basically just looking at essentially a bridge and a forest with smoke, and you're trying to guess where that is on the map. But bringing it together with Tablet Command, you're basically painting that full picture to give you really good situational awareness. And we continue to innovate. One of our customers is in the room who basically had an RFP that came out. They made a request for 3 acknowledgement buttons in Tablet Command, like COVID, stage, and delay. I forget what the last one was. So we responded to the RFP by saying, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to do something better. So we built an acknowledgement feature that allows the dispatcher to put anything, either a canned comment or anything in the comments that will allow them to cause an acknowledgement to all the units responding. When the unit clicks acknowledge for that specific thing, such as this case, wires down, it sends a comment back into the CAD so that they can acknowledge that. So instead of 3 buttons, we allow them to basically use canned comments that they might have for COVID, for example, or they might need something dynamically, or multiple acknowledgements for that. So you're allowing them to now do those safety roll calls by the push of a button. Okay, one other thing in terms of innovation and what we're working on right now, which was just utilized quite significantly at the LA County fires, is incident sharing. So this is an example. For a lot of us in the room, we're familiar with mutual and automatic aid. So the first thing that happens is you have a 911 call, you have a fire, and the communication center takes that call, and then you'll have essentially the closest units are dispatched. Now, if that comm center or that unit needs those additional resources from another communication center, that call is made to that other communication center. Then alerting that neighboring station and them responding at that time. So this is taxing on dispatch. There's significant delays. They get limited information while they're responding potentially on the radio traffic or no radio traffic whatsoever. So they don't get those updates and progress reports for those companies that are responding in. So with Tablet Command, closest units are dispatched, and immediately, based off a pre-shared and of course permission with the customer, that data could then be available in that neighboring communication center or that neighboring Tablet Command account. Communication center still has to make that request to the other one to have that unit assigned, but potentially that unit could be on the road already. And what does that give them? That gives them continual updates, and they're looking at the exact same data that the host agency is looking at. So you're decreasing the response time, you're increasing situational awareness, and giving them the ability to do that. And there's no CAD to CAD, it's basically just on request through Tablet Command. Splitting crews, that's a feature that we had in 3.6, but I'm gonna end the thing right here and just pause for any questions. Turn it over to the Chief. Thank you.
Any questions for Will? Looks like we got one right up there.
Is there any plans in the future to bring in like 3D maps or scenes to be able to have that in the mapping portion?
Yeah, so right now we're in the process of upgrading to Esri's new SDK, or software development kit, to install on our application. It's Esri 200, and so we're going to consider looking at that, definitely.
All right, I think good question.
I know you hate when you see me with the microphone, Will.
Chief Fetterman.
So a lot of us in here find firefighter tracking to be really important. And one of the things that was turned on in the admin portal is the ability to see mobile phones. But what we really need, the incident commanders in here need the ability to turn that on and off right from the incident management screen. So is that something that you think, because we don't want to see it all the time, but when we need it then, not to be able to go through the admin portal. So is that something that maybe we can put, change the functionality out of the admin portal and put it into the incident management side?
So yeah, what you're talking about is a feature. So we support the ability to track TC Mobile or the smartphones as well. Of course, by the permission, you have to enable it in the portal, and I think it would have to be enabled per user as well. That's a great feature idea. One of the things that we do have, though, is the ability that's coming out is the ability to hide your location. So you could be a user and you could potentially share or hide your location. But that is a great feature idea. And also to add on to that we're in talks with these providers that are willing to share their firefighter location. In terms of like the pucks or there's other integrators out there, and we're in conversation with them as well. And if you have a Motorola solution, you want to put a P25 location in there, we're open to sharing that. We just don't know of any agencies that are actually using P25 location on the radios, but we're open to putting that in the application as well. Good question.
I think we always talk about this technology is all there, but if from that incident management portal, if we have a mayday or a burnover or something like that, if we very simply can go in and just turn on all the mobile phones, and that will tell us right now where our people are based on the devices they're already carrying, I think that would be a really easy kind of fix right now, and until we can make all the other stuff work too.
Yeah, so so there's too much. One of the things that we constantly are looking at is, we come from the public safety world, so we're always thinking about the user interface and the user experience, and too much information actually will hinder us when we're trying to make decisions in the field. So when we do start to see firefighter location, one of the things that we've thought about is hiding it until you do need it. The idea about turning it on per device in that moment is interesting, and we'll continue that conversation. So, excellent. Any other questions?
UAV app that you had integrated, is that something we turn on the admin side, or we gotta call you up and get it connected?
There's no connected there. It's just, you just call us up, and there's no cost, is I think what you're alluding to. Yeah. You just put an email ticket into our support team, and they'll build out, essentially configure a custom button that'll show up in your application within a few seconds.
Great.
You just have to have for the drone, you'll have to have essentially like a URL that's accessible from that iPad, whether that's on your private network or it's a YouTube URL or air data or whatever it may be. Great question.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Oh, go on.
I'm gonna go back to dismounted firefighter tracking, because now, that's a big thing, and it's now, the Forest Service says we're all supposed to be doing it on all federal fires, so it's a space that we're looking at with my agency a lot. I know Motorola is really pushing their software, their new Next radios, it has all of these capabilities built in. This is the venue where I think we, as those of us in the fire service, should be going to all of our vendors and saying, make them work together, the technology's there. So I'm just curious if there have been any discussions, obviously your own app on the phone, that's easy, but are there discussions going on with these other geolocation radios and other devices that are out there?
Yes, there are. So we're in, I'm drawing a blank right now, forgive me on some of the company names, but we've talked to Motorola about getting their location into our application, and I'm trying to think of
Somewhere Labs.
Somewhere Labs, thank you so much. I don't know why I was drawing a blank. I had an S in my head, I was thinking Soma for some reason, but Somewhere Labs, we've had conversations also with Somewhere Labs, and we did an integration and tested that, and we actually have data coming from their API to answer your question as well. Tablet Command's perspective is, we're not a location, we can do location in our application with TC Mobile, but we're not a location company that's like working on hardware for inertial tracking inside a building or GPS-based stuff, outside. But we're happy and we're open to integrating with anything from a location standpoint. So, any other questions?
Oh, Brenda's coming down. There we go.
At a certain point, I think they're gonna time me out on these questions.
We've got a couple minutes.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Chief.
Yeah, I just had a quick question. The information that's published on one of the map layers that shows the active incidents within the state is extremely useful in the field, and I was just curious how often you guys are updating that, and what's the frequency that that info is getting pulled into there?
Yeah, good question. Looking to,
So the NIFC map, the TCCA map that has that on there, that's updated anytime NIFC updates the layer, or it's available in Tablet Commands. There's no specific time, it's whenever the update's available.
Excellent, thank you.
yeah, so ultimately to answer your question, we're looking at a layer that's provided by NIFC. So whenever NIFC updates that layer, that's when you're gonna have that update. Great question.
Here, I'll jump on the question side over here. and I'm not sure if we dealt with this during the Palisades or the Eaton, but as far as connectivity while they're out there, because I know that's always the thing, we have a lot of these technologies, and then we get out there, and I know some of that's, we're able to overcome that with Starlink and those things now, but were there any, during those incidents, did you guys have any, big areas that were blacked out, no service in those areas?
I heard reports, I don't have any direct, I've heard accounts essentially as the fire was progressing, cellular connectivity did become an issue and the carriers came in and tried to stand things up right away. Again, we have a public safety background, so we understand that that can happen. We're building the application so that it's constantly updating the data, including the vehicle locations of shared ABL if you're looking at, or your agency's vehicle locations constantly, with the expectation that you're gonna lose connectivity at any moment's time. We also support features like mobile map packages, which is kind of new. It's kind of possibly gonna replace geo-based PDFs, so that you can store that data locally and share that if you were in a lost connectivity with somebody via airdrop, for example. So we're always kind of expecting it. In terms of actual accounts, I think if you want, stop by the booth. I heard some accounts, of course, they were losing cell towers and communication lines to those towers. And then I heard some carriers came in right away and just supported them. So, but I'm sure we've got here on our team, myself, Will Pigeon, and we've got John Wickenhauser, who heads up our customer operations and support. We've got Jake Powell, California Sales Lead, and we've got another support gentleman, Mike McMath, who's formerly Redlands Fire. So, excellent. Thank you. Any other questions?
All right, thank you, Will.
Thank you.
Thank you.